All right, let's go ahead and get started. So what I wanted to focus on was for small business. So I had 3 other Zoom sessions this morning about cybersecurity for small businesses there, but I want to focus on what we can use in our region, right? Because we're not going to be talking about the same type of things that affect people in California. We're not going to be talking about the things that affect people in Northern Virginia or maybe in the military there, but I want you to focus on small businesses. And when you think about your own business, or maybe one that you've worked for before or working currently, I want you to think about how you can apply that. And if you have any questions, please just speak up. All right, so first things first, many people don't have a dedicated IT and cybersecurity staff, right? Because in a small business, you're pretty much maybe the only person involved in that business. So if you have a bunch of people and employees, even in this COVID-19 type of environment, you may have your employees working from home. So how do you manage your company's computers? You may have given them a laptop, you may have had them work on their own computers, but how are you able to verify the version numbers of software, right? You don't want them to be using some old piece of software that's out there that may have some vulnerabilities. And so a lot of companies are moving towards a remote administration or management of those resources. How are you updating and making sure that your company's resources are protected? Are your employees applying all those Windows updates? Are they applying all those Chrome web browser updates, Adobe PDF? Many of these products update almost constantly. Now, one of the ones I wanted to bring to your attention was an active exploit. And many people don't realize this, but it's been going on since Sunday, and that there's a Google Chrome, what they call a 0-day active exploit. And this means that malicious threat actors are currently trying to get into your computer. So Google Chrome will try to automatically update itself, but many of the companies may have a managed device, which doesn't allow users to install or update software, because you may not want them to have full administrator privileges, right? You don't want them to be adding on some little gaming software or maybe some sort of stuff that they shouldn't have on a business type of computer. So you want to be able to manage those type of devices, even if it's not owned by your company. Because remember, if someone's using their own computer to access your company resources, you may want to have a policy in effect that says we have to be able to protect our company's resources, and we have to be able to manage your device, or at least verify that you're using the latest and greatest and you don't have something bad that's on there. I did post in there some little more information if you want to read more about the threat that's going on with Google Chrome. But I want to give you a quick little screenshot here. This is how you can check Chrome. So you'll see up in the top right-hand corner, those 3 little vertical dots. And this is on a Windows machine here. But if you click on those 3 little vertical dots, you can go to a settings menu. And from that settings menu, you can check on your version of Chrome, and it will try to automatically trigger an update. Now, if you look at this version number, and if you're on a smaller screen, it may be a little bit harder to read, but you'll notice that the last 3 numbers are 198. And this is one that just came out on Sunday to try to patch some of these active exploits. So if you have version 193 or maybe something earlier, it may not be patched currently. So I encourage you to check your Google Chrome version at home, on your devices, and everything else, including your employees, to make sure that they have the updated version of Chrome, because these active exploits, people are actively trying to hack into your computers using this. So this is a good way to update your system. And just a little thing about Google Chrome is that even when it updates, and you have all these little tabs open. I know I have one employee that has nearly 100 tabs open at any given time. As soon as it reboots, it reloads all those little tabs, so you're not going to lose your information. But I wanted to talk about what people are targeting right now. So if you're a small business, you say, well, I only have maybe 3 employees, maybe I have 50 employees, but why are they targeting me? And there's different things that they can target. They can target the web browser, they can target the employee, or they can target your infrastructure. So one of the ones that larger companies may have is called a Cisco Security Manager. And this is just a management application that enforces those security policies. So one of the security policies may be don't allow certain users to install their own software, right? But this is something that can be exploited as well. And again, I have a link to some more information in there. But this just shows that not only the computers, but also your critical infrastructure, things that try to enforce those rules, can also be targeted. Now, when you talk about a small business, and like, well, Richard, I don't have all that infrastructure there. I don't have one of those Cisco managers. I'm just maybe working out of my home or something like that. Small businesses are a huge target. So 43% of all cyber attacks target small businesses, and it increases really each year. So you've all heard about phishing attacks. Maybe someone gets like some sort of email or ransomware or something like that, or even data theft. Those are all common methods that we're used to. But the key here is that 43% of all the cyber attacks target small businesses. Well, large businesses will have the resources to be able to try to counteract those. They may have dedicated cybersecurity, dedicated IT staff on there. And small businesses, we usually don't. So in Virginia, when you think about how many attacks are going out there right now, they're averaging 6 per second just in Virginia. So these things are going out there. And if you have like someone on the IT side, you can use a program called Wireshark or something else to actually see what's going out there. And if you look at your firewall, maybe on your home router or something like that, you'll be able to see all these attacks that are coming out there. And that truly, most of them are being blocked, from firewalls and stuff like that. But we want to be able to be aware that there are 6 attacks per second that are occurring just here in Virginia. And that's quite a lot, and it's increasing every day. But when we think about who's trying to attack us, we use a term called threat actor. And a threat actor is really anyone that has a potential to impact your security on your organization. Now, it doesn't mean that they have to commit a crime, but just have that potential. And you might be thinking in your head right now, maybe it's a shadowy little person with a hoodie and a little laptop hanging out your in like Starbucks or something, trying to hack into your company. But they could just be unintentional employees clicking on a link or something. It could be something that's intentional. Maybe it is somebody sitting in Starbucks trying to hack your company there. But what we've seen is, whether it's internal or external type of person, that the greatest threat right now is a person that exists, the problem that exists between the keyboard and chair. And we have a nice little acronym there called PEBCAC. Problem exists between keyboard and chair. So anyone that's worked tech support, you've probably had this type of notation in any of those help desk things in there, because the largest vulnerability in any computer system is not the hardware, it's not the software, it's the person behind the keyboard that's actually using that software. Right? You've probably accidentally clicked a link. You've probably accidentally clicked on something that you may not have wanted to, maybe open up an attachment that looked a little bit fishy. And that's what we call a PEBCAC type of error. Now, we can do all the type of training that we want on there, and we can train people, don't click on those links. Don't click on something or read those type of emails that come from unknown people on there. But how well do we really respond to that type of training? And the answer is not very good, right? Because the computers are doing what they're programmed to do, but the people are less predictable and can be easily manipulated. Now, I've been manipulated. I'm sure everyone else has as well. Maybe I've clicked on a little link or something, especially in my mobile phone, that I didn't look at too closely, and maybe it caused a little bit errors on there. But 27% of all respondents in a survey clicked on the emails that asked for the login credentials, thinking that they were logging into a legitimate site. Maybe it's something like everyone's getting ready for a Christmas season and purchasing things online, and says, hey, an alert has been shown up. Please log into your account to verify that these are actually valid. And in fact, I actually got one this morning myself. I actually got 2 last night as well. I've been doing a lot of online shopping. But 27% of all those respondents clicked on emails that ask for login credentials. And we're all taught, don't do that, right? We've all had those type of trainings. But 27% of all respondents did click on those. Now, again, for unknown attachments, that's kind of going down right now. Only about 7% actually clicked on an unknown attachment. But the problem is that 12% in that survey were the IT department that clicked on stuff. 12%. They should have known better, right? We have all this expensive training that we send them to. We have all these little webinars and things like that. Don't do that. Well, you see that 12% actually were in the IT department. Now I'm kind of grouping IT and information security in there because, hey, these cybersecurity people, they should have known better themselves. But what I always try to tell people is disable the images in your email. And the reason is because when that email is opened, it makes a request to a server and it tries to download that type of image. Now, you may be worried about your data usage and downloading all that stuff over Wi-Fi or your cellular data, but I always recommend to people turn off those images in your email. Because what it does is it gives the IP address, your geolocation. It says, hey, we're located in Charlottesville. Hey, we're located in Stanton. And all that information you're giving up freely. You're also telling them what type of email client that you're using. Are you on an iPhone 12? Are you on an Android system? Also, what time that you opened it. Do you typically open up spam emails at 6 a.m. in the morning, or are you more likely to open up on your lunch break around noontime? So all this type of data gets collected, and it may not be used for that type of spam that you received, but I can guarantee you that information is then resold. Have you ever done a Google search for something, maybe a product, and then you go to Amazon or Walmart and hey, it pops right up and says, hey, we heard that you were looking for this. That information is resold. Just like this type of information is resold. You don't even have to click on a link or an attachment in that email. As long as you're opening up and viewing those images, you're giving them a wealth of data here. Now, you could quiz your employees and say, well, I want to find out what's going on in these type of emails. And all you have to do is just hover over on a desktop or something like that, and you can see where that information is going. So in here, I have a very simplified one. It says like temp-server.com, and then tracking, and then image001.jpg and image002.jpg. Well, by tracking who opens up image 1 and image 2, I can see that I sent image 1 to Bob, and I sent image 2 to Sue. Right, so you have this like form type of email message, a spam message that goes out, and you have these little placeholders that say, hey, have this little image 1 if I send it to Bob. I have image 2 if Sue opens it. And the reason is because you can track exactly who opens that message. You may be sending this out to millions of people, but just tracking that information and say, hey, I sent this to bob@my.com, and he opened it up at 6 a.m. and he opened it up again at noon, and then maybe he clicked on a link, but Sue did not. So here's a great little tutorial here, and it's got a nice little quiz that Google has put together that you can give to your employees, and it's freely available. And I have the link here. It's phishingquiz.withgoogle.com. I'm going to leave this up on the screen for right now if someone wanted to just write that one down. But we'll also have this presentation be made available for everyone that is interested as well. Okay. And when I worked for FBI, this is also how we would track people. We would send a message to the last known email address that they may have. Maybe it's someone on the run or something like that, or maybe it's somebody that we're trying to find. And all they have to do is just open up that email. They don't even have to respond to it. They don't have to click on anything. And it gives us all that information, the geolocation. It gives us what type of device that they're using, what time they opened it. So all this type of great information is very, very valuable. Now, you could also use it for your small businesses to track for marketing purposes, right? If you send out a coupon to somebody, you say, hey, I sent this to Bob, but Bob sent it around to 5 other people and they all opened it at different times. So maybe I want to give Bob a referral code. Or maybe Sue didn't open it up when I sent it at 6 a.m., but she did open it up when I sent it at noontime. So maybe I want to time my type of marketing as well. So for small businesses, email and stuff like that, that's one of our core parts, but also your own network. Now, I have my network here at my house segmented up. So that way I have different types of computers, different types of cameras and everything else separate. So I have some security cameras set up, and they are separate from my regular network. Because if someone tries to hack into my computer or something like that, they can't get to my security cameras. They can't get to my voice over IP phone. They can't get into my secure file servers, right? So I'm using shared networking hardware, but I'm kind of segmenting it up and saying, hey, you only have access to this little thing. And what it does is it breaks it up so that way people don't really realize that they're on a separate network or something, but logically it has it there. So a virtual LAN is a way of segmenting your network. And so by controlling this type of data flow, you can keep it separate and you can share the same hardware infrastructure. You don't need to buy a new router, a new Wi-Fi and everything like that to be able to use that. You can control who gets in and who gets out. You can turn off a specific network. Maybe it's your guest network for your customers that come in. So after hours, it cuts it off. So that way they're not sitting in the parking lot and stealing all your bandwidth and transferring stuff, right? So you have all these abilities to turn things off based on time. Now, if you have a human resource virtual network, you can turn off things and you can say, well, maybe Sue has access to the HR network, but Bob, he works in engineering, so he's not able to do it. But Bob is allowed to work into the nighttime and no alarms go off. But if Sue is working after 8 p.m., then maybe that raises some red flags because maybe someone shouldn't be working in HR after 8 p.m. or so, right? So we can have these time-based controls as well. Now, for small businesses, what I always recommend is to split up your wireless network. If you have a small network that has customers that come on site, you could have a wireless network for bring your own device, that's a BYOD. You could have a guest one, or you could have one that's authorized for certain computers. So if you have a wireless for guest network, you could have a different login or something like that. And again, they wouldn't have access to your security cameras, your file server, your HR department, your engineering department, or anything else. So what it does is it segments the network traffic, and these are called VLANs. I'm trying to be very cognizant of your time there, so I don't want to rush through too much, but I don't want to overload you too much either. So, but I want to show you that one of the key things about cybersecurity is called ports. Has anyone heard of ports before for your computers? See some heads bobbing there. So computers use ports to access devices, and we think of these as mainly like a doorway, right? So how do people get into your house? They have to come through the door. So if someone comes in through the door, you can close that door, you can lock that door, you can have it based on time or whatever. But a misconfigured computer could allow an attacker, a malicious threat actor, to come in. Now, one of the biggest heists in history was not someone just robbing a physical bank. They were robbing cryptocurrency. And what they did is they went in through his door on called port number 8545, and they were able to steal all this cryptocurrency on a computer. So if you want to find out what doors are open, what ports are open on your computer, it's called port scanning. And there's many free programs out there called ZenMap and Nmap that can be used to actually find out which ones use. And what many people notice is that printers, they'll allow web browser access, excuse me, web browser access, but your printer can also store files. And so I always recommend people to turn those off. Sorry, it's kind of dry in here. But social media of employees is also a huge thing that is going on right now, because there's a lot of people that are sharing images. They have facial recognition out there. So if your employee is out at a rally or a celebration or a protest or something like that, that facial recognition can tie it back into your own company. And this can be very, very dangerous right now, right? Because if someone's doing a celebration or protest or something like that, By having their own picture on social media, they may be linking to your own company, and that could really damage your company, right? Because if they say, hey, I work at this company, and it tags them in social media, you have to be very, very cognizant of that. And you could have good employees too, right there, but you could also have some bad employees, because your employees, they have logins, they have access, they know your system, they may have data stored on their own computers. Maybe they're working on a document from home. So be very, very careful of how your employees handle your systems. Okay, so I want to end it up here really quickly, so that way I'm right before the 4 o'clock time to allow for some questions in here. But I also have this contact information if you ever want to get in contact with me. I am here at Piedmont Virginia Community College in Charlottesville, where I'm the Cybersecurity Program Director. But I was also the former FBI computer scientist and computer forensic examiner for the FBI Washington Field Office. And I also serve as an ISSM, Information System Security Manager, for Sellers and Associates, which is, again, a small business. I think most people are muted right now, but I'll kind of open it up to anyone if you have some questions. All right.
I think you got one question through the chat, Richard.
Okay, let me hit that stop share so that way I can see the chat window comes up. Okay, so open email. So when you open an email message, that's what I'm talking about there. So just by opening up an email message, it's going to make a bunch of different requests to download content, like to download those images and make it look nice and neat for you.
I guess I was asking about the preview screen, like in Outlook, you know, you're just like, it's open. It's not like you're opening, it's already open.
Right. So in Outlook, it has the ability to load images or just to have a link that says, click here to show the images. And that's what I do in Outlook. So
Okay.
I disable all the images from auto loading. And then if I know it's from a known source, such as at pvcc.edu or at your smallbusiness.com, then you can say, always allow images from these senders.
Wow, we did that right then. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
I just thought it was annoying that I had to download it every time.
Oh, no, it's good. Because that email marketing stuff, it's always resold on there. So you don't even have to click on a link or do anything like that. And these people send out a lot of spam email messages, and they just honestly are using it for money making, just to resell that type of data. But for small businesses, it can also be used for positive, right? Because you can use it for marketing and say, hey, Bob shared this coupon with a whole bunch of people, or Bob sent this around to all these different people, and then they open up that message as well. Okay, so Windows 12 OS is coming December, and I never recommend to be one of those early adopters, especially of an operating system. On my computer, I'm currently running 4 different operating systems at the same time. So I'm actually speaking to you within a virtual machine, which is kind of controlled. So that way I can control what type of devices are being accessed to there. So I'm using this boom mic, but I'm not using this boom mic that's in here. All these different types of devices that I kind of share along. I do a lot of testing for small companies, and I use virtual machines to do that. So in Windows 12, if it ever comes out, you know, it's always been pushed back, but if it comes out, we'll do extensive testing on there and be able to determine if it's going to break anything, if anything is going to act a little bit funky. There are some different versions of Windows 10 patches that have come out recently, the 2004 and 20H2, and those have a bunch of different updates in there. Microsoft uses what's called a Patch Tuesday. So on Tuesdays is usually when they have a bunch of updates that come on there, and oftentimes it'll make your computer reboot outside of any type of settings that you may have. So I just always recommend to keep your operating system as up to date as possible. If you're wondering what type of operating system I run as a base system, I typically run Ubuntu. And I also run Windows 10, the professional version, and also Kali Linux.
The port scanning, you mentioned ZenMap and Nmap. Is that like a service you buy, or you, like, how does that
Yeah,
work?
it's actually free software. So if you go to zenmap.org, you can download it for, especially for Windows machines, and it comes pre-built into Kali Linux and Ubuntu Linux. But it's a free utility that allows you to scan your entire network, and there's plenty of YouTube videos out there. And it's one of the first things that we teach our students at Piedmont Virginia Community College, because it's just such a wide and useful tool that's out there. And what it does is it scans to find out what type of ports are open. So these little doorways, they're common. And so like port number 23, for example, allows you to have like a command line access, kind of like a little DOS window, to be able to remotely control the machine. Port number 80 is an unsecure web browser. Port number 443 would be a secure web browser. So if we're scanning our web server for whatever reason, we want to make sure that port number 80 is turned off and port number 443 is turned on. Because if you have port number 80 turned on, that's an unsecure web browser. And so anyone that's typing in a username, password, credit card information, that means that it's being unencrypted. Now, these web browser manufacturers, they know about this. And so this is where you see that little lock and unlock button in the top left-hand corner of your web browser.
So you're not taking a risk by running like that? That's not inviting people into your system that could, you know.
Well, in some machines, I actually use what's called a honeypot, which means that you have a lot of these doors that are open intentionally on a system that's really controlled, and maybe it doesn't have any real good data on there, it has fake data. But the honeypot attracts all these malicious threat actors, and you can monitor what they're doing, what type of files that they're looking for. Maybe they log in as Bob or something like that. So it allows us to try to trap those people in a honeypot.
Do you have a preference on, let's turn my video on. Do you have a preference on like what virus software to use and anything, recommendations for small businesses that you think catches the most or works the best?
Yeah, personally on my own computers, I don't run any antivirus software, and I think that might be very surprising to people. But for small businesses, Windows does include one on their system, which is actually quite good. But I'd also recommend things such as Sophos, Sophos is one of the major players in the market.
Does anybody else have any other questions? I always hate to listen to, you have to, it's one of those things where you have to listen to cybersecurity, but it always scares you to death. So now I'm like, I'm going to go down all my employees after this and check all these computers. So appreciate
Sure.
This is great.
How about for the Apple side?
For the Apple side, there are some products out there like Avast, A-V-A-S-T, and that one is free. So I'd like to recommend that one just to try it out if you want. But Bitdefender is another good one that's out there. Some people don't like Kaspersky because it's owned by Russians. So, you know, there's been some security concerns, especially for the military space there. But McAfee is also pretty good. That's out there. They don't really have a clear front runner that's out there.
So can students now get a 4-year degree in cybersecurity, or is it still like a 2-year or certification or what?
Yes. So PVCC actually offers an associate's degree. in computing with a concentration in cybersecurity. For people that may already have a degree and maybe just want some training or a career switcher, we also offer a certificate. PVCC also offers free tuition for many of their students that meet certain criteria. So we do have a lot of students that are relocating to this area. For this fall and spring, I am offering all of my classes online, and they are taught asynchronously, which means that students have the opportunity to take it whatever time works best for them.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah, we also just got a grant of $250,000 in partnership with VCU. So I'll be developing online course materials specifically for computer forensics.
Very cool.
I think we're about on our time that Brian had for us. So thank you again, Richard. Very interesting. And I guess everybody can go ahead and go back to the lobby.
All right.
No cocktails though, but thank you again, Richard. That was very
Thank
All
you.
right, thanks.